got to prove himself all over again too. There's nothing guaranteed in this world. I think Rob's, learned some tough lessons, and I compliment him because he's never felt sorry for himself, but he knows he's got to go back out there and learn it all over again. That's the way it is. That's life.
Has there been a moment in his first 10 or 12 practices where you looked at Rob and thought, he's back to where he said he had a moment, but I'm just wondering as a coach what you saw?
A handful of times I've thought he's been better than I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. The one thing is you can't forget who he is. He's really a big guard, but now he's 6'8", 220. He's always been a guard. We've just played him offensively like that, and then he's guarded a 4, and we've made your big guy guard him. Now, if you don't like that, then you're going to take a guard and put him on him and take your 4 and put him on one of our guards. A few people have done that. A few people have been successful. A few people haven't. I like our matchup with him because it allows us to have 4 guards in the court. We can dribble, pass, and shoot. It really gives us an advantage, in my opinion.
Did you have a sense that he was all the way back and maybe even beyond before practice began? Or were there some things you saw?
Well, I think it's going to be the obstacle is how he feels about himself. He has all the physical tools, and he looks fine moving, running, scoring. He separates from people with the basketball. He gets by them, or gets to the side where he can shoot his pull-up, and those are very, very good signs. I still think he's a little tentative once he gets in traffic. He has rebounded in traffic, but not every time. He's gotten knocked to the floor. He's gotten thrown down. He's gotten tangled up. He's gotten into some normal kind of scrapes in the game of basketball, and each time I think that happens and he gets up, I think he builds that mental confidence that everything is going to be okay.
Do you think some of that tentativeness was because you're worrying about your body?
Sure. I think anytime. I compare it to waking up in a hotel room and not knowing where you are, and he gets in traffic and puts his hands out instead of just hitting people sometimes. Then there's times when he gets lost in the moment and he's playing that he just cracks people, and there's times he puts his hands out. And so he's not an interior player except on the defensive end. And then he's been good at post defense. He's been good at boxing out and then going to get the basketball. But he's better right now at rebounding downhill than he is around the basket. What I mean by rebounding downhill, he's better at being at the free throw line and then coming downhill towards the rim and jumping and getting it than he is going to get contact and going straight up. But he was never that guy to start with either. So even though he gets you 8 rebounds a game.
Those times he does get tangled up, are those tense moments for yourself? Or
No,
are you excited for it?
I think they're needed. Because it's part of a everyday practice or everyday game, and sure you hold your breath a little bit, when he goes down, but it's part of the game, and those are the moments that I think it's going to be valuable for him, because I think that's when he gets stronger.
You mentioned this morning that people kind of tend to think he's wearing a cape or something. The
Right.
longer you sit out, it becomes legendary.
Right.
Do you worry at all about just expectations on him are so great because of everything that
Not really. With most people, I think that statement would hold true. He's a very mature, grounded guy. He doesn't think he's great. You know what I mean? He tries to help Purdue win. He's a very selfless guy, and sometimes with him, he played around a lot of other guys. Like Keaton Grant could make a shot, and Etuan Moore and Jawan Johnson were just very talented guys. So when he made that extra play or that extra pass, it went to a skill guy. Sometimes Rob will make the right play, and then maybe he makes the right play or the extra pass to a guy who's not quite as skilled. We got to get him to be more aggressive and look to shoot more, look to drive more, look to pull up, and then kind of play off of that also.
Matt, talk about the other kids on the team. Who has surprised you or maybe elevated their game from last year?
I would say Ryan Smith's probably elevated his game more than the rest of the guys from what I've seen so far in practice.
Right.
We'll see when the games come. That's not fair, I think, to a guy like Tyrone Johnson, who really made improvements. Then he tore his meniscus.
Right.
So now he's battling from a conditioning standpoint to get back to where he was in the middle of August, which was a good spot for him from a conditioning standpoint. He really worked on his body. Travis Carroll's body's better. He's still a blue-collar, physical, below-the-rim type guy. He's not going to change who he is, but he's changing ends better with the court. And I think he'll help us at the 5 position because he can stretch the defense. I think we can put a lot of skill in the game then the guys that maybe aren't quite as skilled give us quickness and athleticism.
Losing JJ and Etwan, that's a lot of points that you're going to have to make up. Where's the points going to come from?
Well, it's a very similar situation that we had. I think they averaged 39 or 38 points between the two of them. Carl Landry and David Teague did the same thing. You know, they averaged, I think, 17 apiece in the Big Ten, so they're 17 and a half, so they're around 34, 35 points a game between them. We didn't try to make those next guys Carl Landry and David Teague, and we're not going to try to do that with this. We are going to have to manufacture a shot differently with this team. But we changed how we played last year when we lost Rob. Some people might not watch with that close of an eye, but we did a lot of things differently. We stayed in more isolations with Jawan because he improved so much. We got in two-man games with Jawan and Etwan a lot. But the year before, even though we had Etwan and Jawan, we ran more of a spread motion type game that we'll go back to because I think that really suits Rob and really suits our personnel.
Is this different from a coaching standpoint, having to change the dynamics of the offense?
It was last year,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. When we lost Rob last year, Jawan had made such improvements that he just needed space, you know, because he can hit turnaround 15-footers. Each one's a guy that's always been able to score, so no matter how you play, the ball's going to find the basket with him. And so that gives you a great weapon. But for us, it's going to be more of the quickness and the speed, I think, you know, from Jackson and Barlow, and then, you know, playing through Rob and getting Rob as many touches as possible. Ryan Smith, DJ Bird, Travis Carroll, their ability to shoot the basketball and stay spread. But no, we're going to have to try to play through our defense a little bit, try to get in transition, and just be efficient on the offensive end. And, you know, Wisconsin's a team that I talk to our guys a lot about. I know they're in our league. I'm not trying to pump up Wisconsin like I'm on their payroll or something, but I've always been impressed with them losing 2 or 3 really good players. You say, well, they're not going to be as good, and then also the next year they're better. It really shows you how good of a coach he is, but they got a good system.
And they seem to recruit the same type of kid, about 6'8", 6'9", about 230. Where do these kids come from?
Well, I think he gets the kids that they don't go to Wisconsin for any other reason to help Wisconsin win. And if they do have a different opinion, I think that gets changed real quick when they get to campus. And so, you know, there's a kid at Butler that's played for him from Alabama, Norwood, last couple of years, and he said he had a great line at the Final Four, and they interviewed him. I talked to our guys about it when he said it, and they just said, you know, he started on that first Final Four team, and then on the second one he didn't start. And they just said, are you upset about not starting here in this Final Four team? And he said, I didn't come to Butler to start. I came to Butler to win. And I thought for a 20-year-old kid to say that, now maybe Brad gave him that line, and he was smart enough to repeat it. But I thought it was a great line because that's what you have to have. You have to have that selfless type guy. And if you have enough of those guys, and then you have a couple leaders like Jackson and Smith and Hummel to rally behind, I think you can have a great season. And so, you know, those are our goals, and those are our expectations, and that's something that Coach Katie always set, you know, and he always tells a story about 1984. They picked him 9th in the league, and Russell Cross went to the pros, and he said, we won the league. But you got to make sure your guys understand how you're going to get to that point. And you have to get through to them that you're going to have to be able to do it on the defensive end, rebounding the basketball, taking care of the basketball, doing the little things, and being a good team. And that's what we're trying to strive for.